Hi, it's Camaro Man here again. It's been a while since I've done a video, so I just wanted to do one today and update my subscribers. I have maybe 10 or 12 now, on how the 1971 Camaro restoration's going. 1971 Camaro SS 402 Turbo 400, all original, all numbers matching, going back into this subframe, which is all fixed, with the exception of a basic service. I've got some photos that I'll download or upload to the YouTube site, and if you look at them, I'll try to be selective and kind of only show the ones that tell a story. But one of the stories, one of many in this vehicle, is these subframe bushing mount points. They rust and they need to be repaired. So as you can see, these are. They're looking good, looking brand new, pretty much. And what I did is I took some mild steel washers, because the stuff was all mild steel, and I welded them in. I gas welded them instead of, well, I MIG welded tack welded the bottoms, but I completely gas welded around the tops. And the reason for that is that, I don't know about maybe more powerful 220 volt MIG machines, how they penetrate, but mine isn't really going to cut the mustard. It's a good little machine, but it's not enough, I don't think, to really secure these welds the way they need to be secured, being that these 4 points are pretty much all that holds this car together from splitting in half on the highway. So gas welding is the way I went, and I think that's the way to go. Works for me. I've got my brake lines all laid out, all brand new lines, just painted them, all brand new fuel lines. They're already in the car. I'll take you over to the car in a minute. You can see it's looking quite a bit different than it did maybe the last time you looked at any of the videos or selected photos, if you can do it that way. So the subframe just about ready to go back under, and the rear end's here. It's a 344 gear ratio posi lock rear end. I believe this is original to the car as well. Nice solid unit, 10 bolt. New leaf springs, new emergency brake lines, new what do they call the little things inside the wheels? What do they call those? Wheel cylinders, I guess they are, right? The brake components inside, new brake pads, the whole 9 yards, new drums. One of my videos, you could see the original drum was broken and all corroded and all that stuff. This thing was pretty heavily pitted, but I cleaned up. There's no leaks. I don't see any issues with it. The ring and pinion gear inside looked good. I put a new front seal in, so that should be pretty much it. I know I probably should have taken the opportunity at the time to replace the seals, the shafts, but my theory is that you could service those once it's in the car. Same with the front end, the coil springs. I cut the shock absorbers out, but the coil springs and the sway bar bushings, and the drag link here, that's this drag link bar right here, or the elbow. Those are all the way the car came. So I serviced it. I'm going to put it back together. We'll see what lasts, see what doesn't, And same thing with the spindles and the wheel bearings. I'll just re-grease those, and I'll service this all at once. I'll pop the rotors back on, put the wheels on so I can move this under the car and get this thing to be a rolling chassis. Once I get the subframe under and the rear end under, I can put the tires and wheels back on. That were on it. The tires need to be replaced. They're 30-year-old, whatever they are, Goodyears, polyglass. So they'll have to be replaced at some point, but at least I can get this thing moving around. Once you can move it around, you can get the parts, get the trunk lid off, get the hood up. I have to go through the doors still. There's some work to do on those. There's some rust along the bottom that I have to look at. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, keeps telling me when I'm going to just order the door panels. And, I want to try to keep the car as original as possible. So if I could patch them up, I will. But if it comes to that, I can order them and they'll be here within a few days. There's one over here. I got one on either side of the car. And then I'll just skin the doors if that's what it takes. But my explanation for trying to keep them is they have these factory little rivets right there. You can see that hold the moldings on, and they're all put in a specific place and a specific height. So, I mean, yeah, you could, replace it and figure out how to get those back on. But, if you can just pop the moldings back on, it's probably worth doing a little bit more of the work. There's my little gas welder. That's come in handy. Cutting apart that subframe and bushings and so on. And this is the MIG welder. It's a it's a $550 MIG welder. Well, at least 5 years ago it was. It's fan cooled. It's got the argon or whatever they use now. Tank, the gas, which I think makes it a much cleaner weld. I've never tried those flux core things, but I think this is probably the way to go. Good little machines. This is the second restoration. There's been a lot of metal work in this car, which we'll talk about momentarily. And it's done a good job. It's, probably gone through a spool and a half, the big spools of the wire on just this restoration alone. So it's really keeping up well. So here's the cowl area of the car. I put this brake master cylinder setup back on just in place. Going to get the lines all plumbed into it, which are all brand new. There's a brand new brake line there that goes to the rear. This is a new vapor return line to the tank. I'm not going to hook it up, but I put it in there. I'll put the can in the front and run the line to it, so it looks legit. But I really don't see the need for that these days. Being the car's, whatever it is, 45 years old. This area here, this fender mount was corroded out behind it. So I fixed all that, kind of patched it all up. It's a little patch, but I welded in here. Welded, seam sealed it with some urethane sealer. I resealed all this, resealed all of this all the way across. It's all nice and clean, sealed up tight. Everything's looking good. Had to do some little repair work here. There was some corrosion coming through. And the floor pans, of course, which if you've seen my prior videos, were pretty much gone. That stuff's all been replaced now, so we'll take a little tour around the car. And, hopefully you're mildly impressed. So this area here, the last video I did, I think the windshield was still in. Took the windshield out. This was all corroded away. This was pretty well corroded away, so I replaced that with some new metal. This is new metal here. Be very careful not to go too deep into this because I wanted to stay away from that VIN plate. I don't want to mess around with that. Here's the body tag on the car, looking good. All legit. Los Angeles car. You see by the L, right? LA, California car. It didn't stop this thing from rusting out to crap though. So here's the tour of the inside. Got it all squared away. Floors are all in, all welded 100% all the way around inside, and outside there's about, some spots it's a butt joint, some spots it might be an 1/8 of an inch overlap, but pretty tight, all brand new, or I should say replaced. They do a good job with these floors. There's one particular company that I got these from that, the sheet metal they send is excellent. Quarter panels are good, floors are good, but and I know now that they offer a complete floor actually that has the I think they call it the kick panel up front here where your feet go. But they're not complete in the sense. I mean, if you get the complete floor, it's going to be complete. But if you get like what I got was this section of the front, and then I got the rear section. So when they come, you can see this front section. Probably if you got the whole thing, you could seam it right where, watch my finger, right along here all the way down. But the way it comes when you do it in pieces is this kind of looks a little goofy here, but there's a kind of it looks like a can almost. So I wound up just overlapping that on the existing old floor and welding it on the top, welding it on the bottom, sealing it all. So it worked very good, but there was some areas like in these corners down here. On this side it wasn't bad, but you got to cut it and you got to get it to fit in the right spot and then re-weld it into position and then weld the seams up to clean it up. So it's you know, it's more work than probably it needs to be, but, you know, after a while, you get them done, you get them in, and, you know, metalwork. I spent hundreds of hours of metalwork on this, just getting it to this point right here. You can see here, this one here, I had to actually section in a piece. Oh, there's a little drill hole I got to fill still. And section in a piece across the top, because when I got this floor fitted where it needs to be down to the shackle, to the leaf spring connection shackle point, or the torque box is what I call it, I had to drop it down about 3/4 of an inch from the piece that came with it. So I had to cut this all the way across, put a new piece of metal and drop it down, weld it in, cut it here, re-weld that all up. But you know, at the end of the day, it's all hopefully all where it needs to be. And I did a lot of repairs back here to the right side, or the passenger side shock tower. It's all urethaned in now. It's all solid, DP primed, and then I top coated it with some rust prohibitive paint, or rust inhibitive paint. Same thing with the other, the left-hand shock tower. Both needed work. I think I may have mentioned left hand. I think the rear end on this car just fell out or got ripped out. Maybe the guy was doing a hole shot or something, because the left side, there was a piece of the top plate that was pulled right out, and on the right side, the tower itself was damaged in the front. It was bent forward. So I think it kicked out or fell out or whatever, and did some damage. So that's all corrected. As far as, and speaking of collision damage, there was this area in the front here I noticed on the right front piece of the subframe. There was a little dent in this bushing mount bracket here, which I straightened out. I heated it up and straightened it, had to bang it over. But I think subsequently what happened is it came back and it damaged this area, secondary damage to this is the fender apron mount bracket. This is one of your control points here. That's the actual subframe mount bushing, where the bushing goes. So I think what happened is it put a little stress on this area here and kind of pushed this plate back a little bit and helped this corrode probably faster than it normally would. So I had to get all that squared away, fixed up. So it came out pretty good. I've done a lot of body work in my days, years past, and I guess I still got it in you. You still got it in you once you get into these things. This area was in pretty good shape. There was a plate bracket missing inside of this rocker area, so I was able to access through this area here and actually slid a heavy sheet metal plate in there, and was able to weld it outside here and also inside in this cowl area. It's going to be hard to see, but way down in here. See if I can get a light in there for you. You can see it's not pretty, but it's welded, you know, so it's strong down there. It's not gonna, you know, you need to refabricate every structural bracket that's inside of these things. For example, inside of this door jamb area here with the front of the quarter panel is this bracket right here, back here, down below rots out. It's very common. Had to fabricate both the right and the left side, re-weld that in. You know, but the rockers, for the most part, in pretty good shape, so they're all cleaned up. These are ready to have some body work done on them, primed and then painted. Quarter panels are brand new, obviously. Sheet metal's good. They're all cleaned up, all welded tight. Lots of welds, lots of grinding, lots of cleaning, but they're right where they should be. And that's an indication that, you know, you got a nice straight car. If your quarter panels line up and your doors line up, I think pretty much you're good to go. The only question now is when I did all this metal work down here, you can see this looks pretty clean now. All nicey newy. Got my sway bar link brackets there, rear sway bar. It's nice option to have. And then back here, let me get a light. Let's see if I can show you. So there's the new section of frame rail that I put in. And then you come up along here, And I body schützed all this. Actually, I did that yesterday, which is factory. So you can see that's what they did from the factory. So it's got a nice clean look, you know, everywhere you go. It's all new, all ready to go. This lower subframe section, both left hand and right hand. Same thing with the rear frame sections. This was a donor piece that came along with the car. These, I bought a rail section for as long as you can get. You may be able to get a complete one, but I think I may have mentioned, cutting all of this stuff out up here is never a good idea. That's kind of holds your car straight and, factory original. So hopefully, the point I'm making is that I hope I put these rear leaf spring bushing mounts in the right position, which I'm pretty sure I did. This new trunk floor, was able to clean up the rear body panel on the inside, and I actually wound up replacing the rear body panel on the outside. So that's a brand new aftermarket. So you can see it's all clean under here. Now let me get under here. Oh, I've been under this freaking car way too much over the last few days. So I'm going to lay down and give you the tour. So look, check this out. It's all nice and clean, all DP primed under here, and all painted. Nice matte black. All clean, no holes. All the cross members are nice, and those are the original ones. So I worked the floor in around them, and they're all cleaned up inside and out, primed inside and out, and welded, pretty intensely. New, like I said, new lines back here, new fuel line and fuel return line, all new, all in the right spots. So all good to go. No rust, no holes. Never-ending story, though. So, but the point being is that we're definitely moving in the right direction, and we are getting much, much closer to completion. So, having said that, as I get up slowly here, things should start to move along a little bit faster now that I've got all of this metal work done. And once I get that subframe under, which is my next step, I'm going to put the brake lines on today and put the wheels back on, roll that up under the front, get that bolted up. I have 2 floor jacks. I should be able to do that no problem. Get that aligned. You have to make sure that's square to the car when you lock those bolts down. I got new bolts for new bushings, all ready to go. This is a kind of an interesting. This piece of paper is just to keep this from getting paint on it, but this is if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is a fuel cooler or fuel heater, actually, is what it is. I take that back as a fuel heater. And where this goes was inside the car. It goes up in the back section here, right back there, and those lines go down and back. And you can see their fuel line connections. So the fuel line, I think, goes in there, and I don't know if it looks like maybe 2 come out or something. I don't know. I'm just going to put it back in there and plug it off and run my lines direct to the tank, and forget all that. I'm not worried about heating up my fuel, but I think the way they did it is they ran the fuel inside this can inside your car, and they took the heat, extract the heat from behind your seat. And warms the fuel up for whatever reason. So that's going back in there, but like I said, it's going to be just there for originality more than anything, and to plug the hole. So also I just wanted to, I know I touched on that engine, but that's a beauty. Look at that, 402 396 1971. Got the quadribog on it. It's all original, numbers matching. And it even has the correct fuel filter setup with it that has the return line on it. So that's hence the quarter return. So we'll get all of that reconnected, working. I get this bad boy on the road and get it going. So next time I check in, and if I didn't mention it before, what I'll do is I'll get some photos online, kind of on YouTube, so you can kind of see the progression of the job. I probably should have done more of these, but when you get into this It's hard enough just getting yourself to come out and tackle something this